praises, all praises. So we here with,
Craft.
all right, and we the Sons of Thunder Israelites. We're doing a social experiment, and we're going around asking black people what their concept of community is, and who is in that community. So let's start with the first question. What is your concept of community?
I think my concept of community revolves around the people and the infrastructure that's in that community. So when I say the people that have been there, the people that own things there, the people that rent there, the people that live, work, play. And then the infrastructure, the spaces that are there any, for particularly black communities, are there any black-owned businesses? Are there any, who owns the local bodega? Who owns, if there is a grocery store, who owns that grocery store? Is there retail space? Are there, what are the businesses essentially that are there? What are the play spaces? What are the green spaces? What are, how do your roads look? How do people take care of that space is what community is to me.
Okay. So basically, to summarize that, you're saying that the community is made up of the people in that geographic region, as well as the resources and the institutions they create.
Correct.
Okay, and that's actually a pretty good answer. Now, my question would be, as far as the black community is concerned, because we use the word black, but we don't think that that's a nationality, and we can go into that. But as far as the black community is concerned, is it always only outlined based on the geographic location? Because we understand that we have a diaspora that's spread across the earth.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. No, absolutely not, because community is not necessarily geographic. Community can be, community is can often be built through culture. So when you think about when you think about what your community looks like, it doesn't necessarily have to be your neighbor. It can be it could be your people that are, if we're here in Greensboro, it could be the people in Durham. It could be, I got community in Virginia, I got community in Pennsylvania, and wherever I build that community, even if it's not close, I have a community of folk that I know that I can lean on, even if that's, it may not, it doesn't have to be financial, it doesn't have to be, a tangible. It could be something as little as, hey, look, I'm having a bad day. Right. And they give me those words of encouragement. So I don't think your community has to be geographic. It can definitely be much more than that. It's just, it's nicer when it's geographic. Correct. Yeah.
And it's, especially with the internet, things like that, social media, we can be dislocated, but we can still plug into that community.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to read you a definition of what Merriam-Webster says the community is. He says it's a body of persons having a common history or common social, economic, and political interests, right? Mm-hmm. And so I would extend that, because our people as a whole, and when I say our people, I mean so-called black people, because we don't have a common shared history that we know of, although our history is common, we don't know of it. Mm-hmm. We tend to fracture our own community along those lines. For instance, Jamaicans don't realize that they got off the boat at a different stop than Cubans.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So they don't recognize themselves as Cubans, although it's just a different geographic location.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is we're going around, we're trying to teach our people the history that, we're all the same people. As far as the African diaspora, who they call it, we would call those people Israelites.
Yeah.
According to the Bible. And I'm going to read you a verse, and I'm going to let you get some closing words, and then just a comment on this verse. Let's get Deuteronomy 28:64. Because the Bible tells us that the Israelites would lose their heritage, lose their communities,
and be lost before
and be lost, right? Correct. So he knows, right? And be scattered to the four corners of the earth and be exploited by all the other nations. Go ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there Thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Hit 65 as well.
Okay, kind. Verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shalt thou, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
Okay, so with that being said, we have a tall task in front of us. We have a diaspora that's spread across the earth. We have fractured communities. We have black on black crime. We have fatherless households. What is something that we can do within this community that we're speaking of right now to help build that and bridge the gap and bring us back where we're supposed to be at?
Oh man, that's not a short answer.
No, it's not.
I mean, that's definitely like,
I asked that based off of your shirt, bro.
that is thesis level, dissertation level answer,
Right.
and even that wouldn't cover it. I think when we talk about what we have to do, we have to start with telling our own history, but telling it from our perspective.
Right.
Because I think what happens when we tell our history is that we often tell it we tell it with the traumatized perspective, right? Which we need to hear, but we also need to hear the joy.
Right.
And I think when we learn both sides, when we learn the joy and the pain of our history, we have a better perspective. And then from there, learning that history, learning that there is a shared collective from, like you said, y'all got off the boat before we did.
Correct.
That's the difference.
Correct.
But the origin story is the same.
Right.
And we understanding history that, yeah, our people had tribes. Our people had tribes. We had our disputes. They were not savage. They were not vicious. It is in human nature, unfortunately, to have conflict. It's just a matter of how that conflict is faced. But starting with how we tell our history from our perspective, understanding that we were not, we're not a people of trauma.
Right.
We're people of greatness.
Right.
And then moving forward to start building those collective spaces, those collective economics, those collective, those collective institutions, because we understand that we might not have the language, we might not have the shared language of the systemic racism, or we don't understand wealth building, or we don't understand financial literacy, or we don't understand whatever the terms are, those academic or those systemic terms.
Right.
But that's okay, because once we give it to our people in layman's terms and everybody is on the same page, then we'll start to move forward.
So, hey, you heard it here. All right, we appreciate your time, brother. And hey, that's another episode, man. Shalom.